The object entered Earth's atmosphere without warning. No transmission, no energy shield, no attempt to slow down, just fire. Satellites caught it first, a long, broken shape tearing through the sky like a wounded meteor. Air friction ripped chunks from its hull. Plasma flared around it. For 12 seconds, every tracking system on the planet locked onto the same impossible reading. Something was falling, and it was not human. The impact zone was a frozen stretch of land far from any city. The explosion shook the ground for hundreds of kilometers, sending a shockwave through ice, rock, and silence. Governments scrambled. Militaries went on full alert. News feeds flooded with speculation. Invasion. Weapon. First contact. But nothing followed. No fleets. No signals. No demands. Only a massive crater, and inside it, a ship. Recovery teams approached days later, expecting resistance. They found none. The alien vessel was dead. No power. No life signs. No defense systems active. Its hull was scarred, uneven, almost crude by human standards. Large sections were cracked open, as if it had failed long before it ever reached Earth. It took weeks to move it, months to understand even the basics. And then someone found the data core. Deep inside the ship, protected by layers of corrupted systems, alien records remained intact. Linguists, AI models, and human intuition worked together to translate the logs. What they read changed everything. This ship was not lost. It was thrown away. The logs were not distress calls. They were maintenance reports, rejection notes, and internal debates from a distant alien civilization. The vessel was a prototype, unfinished, unstable, and deemed unacceptable. Not because it lacked power, because it had too much. The aliens who built it feared imbalance. They valued safety, efficiency, and predictability. This ship violated all three. Its core design relied on unstable energy states. Its weapons amplified feedback instead of damping it. Its propulsion ignored margins of error. It was dangerous, so they discarded it. And Earth was the dump site. One translated entry stood out above the rest. It was cold, casual, written by an alien engineer signing off on the final decision. Planet classification, low intelligence, pre-interstellar. Risk of recovery is negligible. Disposal approved. Earth had not been attacked. It had been insulted. At first, leaders argued to destroy the ship. It was alien, unknown, dangerous, but others hesitated. If the aliens believed humans could not understand it, that meant something else. They had never tried. A small group of scientists and military planners were granted permission to continue studying it, quietly. No announcements. No public acknowledgement. The project was buried beneath layers of secrecy. Inside underground facilities, humanity took its first real look at alien engineering. The ship made no sense. Alien systems were elegant but rigid. They followed perfect logic, perfect rules. Everything had limits. Everything shut down when pushed too far. Humans immediately noticed what the aliens considered flaws. The core did not fail gracefully. It failed violently. That meant power. The weapon systems were incomplete, intentionally crippled by their creators. But the underlying structure was there. The aliens had stopped just short of something terrifying. Human engineers began asking different questions. Not why would you build this, but what happens if you finish it? Simulations began. Most ended in catastrophe, explosions, reality distortion, total system collapse. And yet, some runs lasted longer than expected. In those moments before failure, the ship did things no human technology ever had. It boosts energy. It ignored inertia. It punched holes in simulated enemy fleets before tearing itself apart. The aliens had been right. The ship was unstable. But humans had lived with instability their entire history. Every great human invention had been dangerous at first. Fire, electricity, nuclear power, flight, space travel. Progress had never been safe. It had been earned. As months passed, the tone inside the project changed. Fear gave way to focus. Engineers stopped trying to make the ship safe. They tried to make it controllable. Losses followed. A reactor test killed 3 people. A power spike erased a lab. Names were added to walls that would never be shown to the public. Still, the work continued. Because now they understood the final line in the alien logs. A line the translators initially thought was a warning. This design was abandoned. Unstable. Too dangerous for standard fleets. Too dangerous for them. Humanity looked at the broken ship in the ice and saw something else entirely. A weapon their enemies were too afraid to use. Outside the facility, the world remained unaware. Life went on. Wars were fought. Borders shifted. Humanity still thought it was alone. But far away, beyond Earth's sky, alien sensors flickered. Something impossible had begun to wake up. And for the first time since they dumped their failure into the void, the galaxy felt a trace of fear. Because the ship they threw away had found new hands. And those hands did not believe in limits. The first rule humanity broke was obedience. Alien systems were built to be followed, not questioned. Every instruction inside the ship's architecture came with restrictions, warnings layered over warnings. Temperature limits, power ceilings, emergency shutdowns triggered at the smallest deviation. Human engineers ignored most of them, not out of arrogance, but experience. They had seen this pattern before. Early jet engines that tore themselves apart. Nuclear reactors that melted down before they were understood. Spacecraft that failed again and again until they didn't. Humanity had learned long ago that warning labels were not laws of nature. They were fear, written in technical language. The alien ship's core sat at the center of everything. It was not a reactor in the human sense. It did not generate power steadily. It oscillated, pulling energy from unstable quantum states, storing it briefly, then releasing it in violent pulses. Alien logs described it as theoretical excess, too unpredictable for fleets, too hard to regulate across multiple vessels. One alien engineer had written a single sentence that caught human attention. Combat efficiency is unacceptable. The system demands operators willing to absorb loss. Humans stared at that line for a long time. Because that sentence explained everything. The aliens had rejected the ship because it required sacrifice. Humanity had built entire histories on it. As decoding continued, the insult grew clearer. The aliens had never worried about Earth understanding the ship. They worried about contamination, about future scavengers copying unstable ideas. Earth was chosen not because it was suitable, but because it was invisible, a dump site no one would miss. That realization changed the project's purpose. This was no longer research. It was preparation. Human leadership quietly restructured the program. Civilian oversight vanished. Military command took over, not to weaponize immediately, but to protect the effort from hesitation. Every major power on Earth agreed to one thing. If the galaxy thought humanity was harmless, it would stay that way only once. Inside the ship, the real work began. Human engineers rewired systems the aliens had locked down. They replaced elegant alien regulators with crude but flexible human control loops. Where alien software shut systems down, human code adapted on the fly. Where alien designs avoided overload, humans redirected it. The ship resisted. Not consciously, but structurally. Energy spikes cracked conduits. Gravity distortions twisted metal. The vessel behaved like something unfinished, angry at being woken. Test failures were frequent. One propulsion test collapsed a localized space pocket and erased an entire test chamber. Another inverted gravity inside the hull, killing 2 technicians before emergency field stabilized. Each failure left scars on the ship and on the people working inside it. And still, no one suggested stopping. Because with every disaster came data. And with data came understanding. The aliens had tried to make the ship safe. Humans tried to make it honest. They stopped suppressing instability and began channeling it. Power spikes became bursts. Feedback loops became weapons. The ship was no longer treated as a vehicle. It was treated as a storm. Outside the project, the world remained ignorant, but not peaceful. Satellites occasionally picked up strange signals from deep space. Short bursts. Directionless. As if someone far away was scanning, uncertain. Human astronomers noticed. Military analysts noticed. The conclusion was unsettling. Someone was looking for the ship. Alien communication fragments confirmed it. The civilization that discarded the vessel had realized their mistake, not because they feared humanity, but because the energy signature should not exist at all. According to their records, the ship should have burned up. The fact that it hadn't meant something had gone wrong, and now they wanted it erased. Human leaders read the intercepted fragments in silence. There was no declaration of war, no formal threat, just a directive moving quietly through alien command structures. Asset contamination detected. Initiate delayed sterilization. Earth was not a target. It was a cleanup operation. That knowledge hardened resolve. Testing accelerated. The ship's weapon systems were the most controversial. The aliens had deliberately crippled them, removing key components and isolating firing circuits. Humans rebuilt them using hybrid technology, alien frameworks reinforced with human materials, human logic, human tolerance for failure. The first weapon test did not destroy the ship. That alone was considered a success. The second test punched a hole through simulated armor thicker than any known alien battleship hull. The third test nearly tore the ship apart, but delivered energy output far beyond projections. Engineers began to understand the truth. This ship was never meant to fight wars of control. It was meant to end wars violently. That was why the aliens rejected it. They ruled through stability, through balance, through slow dominance. A weapon like this threatened escalation. It demanded total commitment. Humans did not see a problem. As months passed, the ship changed. Not just mechanically, but culturally. Crews formed bonds with it. They spoke about it as if it were alive, not sentient, but responsive. A machine that punished hesitation and rewarded bold action. A single name began circulating quietly among the project teams. Not official, not approved, but it stuck. They called it failure, because the galaxy had failed to understand it. The final test before deployment was never meant to happen. An energy spike exceeded every modeled scenario. Emergency systems screamed. The ship began tearing space around itself into unstable layers. Containment fields flickered. The correct alien response would have been shut down. The human commander on site gave a different order. Hold it. Technicians argued. Warnings stacked. Calculations predicted collapse. The commander repeated the order. Hold it. Learn from it. They did. For 17 seconds, the ship operated beyond every safety margin the aliens had feared. It did not explode. It adapted. Systems rebalanced dynamically. Instability flowed through channels humans had designed precisely for that purpose. When the test ended, the ship remained intact. Damaged. Scarred. But operational. Silence filled the control room. Someone finally spoke. If this is what they threw away, one engineer said quietly, what happens when they come back? No one answered. Because everyone knew. Humanity was no longer studying alien technology. It was preparing to demonstrate it. Far across the galaxy, alien sensors locked onto the energy spike at last. Panic rippled through command networks. The discarded ship was no longer dormant. It was evolving. And the civilization that abandoned it realized something far worse than miscalculation. They had not dumped trash on a dead world. They had delivered a weapon to a species that specializes in surviving impossible things. The first alien ship arrived quietly. No dramatic entry. No blazing weapons. No declaration. It slipped into the outer edge of the solar system and shut down almost everything that could be detected. To the galaxy, it was invisible. To humanity, it was a whisper. Human deep space sensors caught it by accident. A slight distortion in background radiation. A shadow where stars should have been. At first, analysts thought it was a malfunction. Then the pattern repeated. Something was watching. The alien vessel did not approach Earth. It did not scan openly. It is simply observed from a distance, patient and cold. Its mission was not war. It was confirmation. Inside the ship, alien observers studied Earth with disbelief. The energy signatures they detected should not exist. They matched the discarded prototype, but altered, intensified, reshaped. Human interference had not weakened the design. It had refined it. The observers replayed historical data. Earth was supposed to be divided, inefficient, primitive. A species that fought itself more than anything else. A species that should have been overwhelmed by a single unstable alien artifact. Instead, Earth had unified in silence. The observers sent a short report back to their command. Asset active. Species comprehension exceeds projections. Disposal error confirmed. The response was immediate and unsettling. Continue observation. Do not engage. Humanity was not yet considered a threat. That was the second mistake. Back on Earth, Project Command now knew they were being watched. Satellite paths changed. Astronomers reported missing stars. Military leaders stopped pretending this was theoretical. The galaxy had noticed. Inside the alien ship's hangar, crews began preparing for the next phase. The failure was no longer a prototype. It was a weapon waiting for a reason. Human engineers had crossed another line. They stopped asking how the ship worked. They asked how it fought. Alien combat doctrine was predictable. fleet formations, energy exchanges, controlled escalation. Even their wars followed rules. Losses were minimized. Stability preserved. Humans studied those doctrines and laughed quietly. They had never fought that way. They rewrote combat simulations from scratch. Not battles of attrition, but moments of overwhelming violence. Not prolonged engagements, but sudden collapses. They designed tactics assuming the ship might not survive. Because if the ship failed after winning, it would still be worth it. The alien observers detected the change immediately. Energy patterns sharpened. The ship's internal structure reorganized itself dynamically. Human modifications were not clean or elegant, but they were flexible. The vessel was becoming something new, something its creators had never planned for. The observers debated whether to intervene. The protocol demanded restraint. This was still a cleanup operation, not a war. But then the humans did something unexpected. They turned the ship toward space. Not toward the alien observer. Toward nothing. The failure powered up its engines for a test flight. The first launch nearly ended the project. Atmospheric distortion cracked the ground beneath the facility. Shockwaves flattened structures for kilometers. Gravity inverted briefly, throwing vehicles into the air before slamming them back down. The ship tore itself free of Earth's gravity like it was breaking chains. Human pilots fought the controls, sweat pouring down their faces. The ship did not respond to gentle inputs. It demanded confidence. It demanded aggression. When it reached orbit, the engines flared again. Space bent. The ship vanished. For half a second, every human tracking system lost it. Then it reappeared thousands of kilometers away, intact but burning hot, hull glowing from internal stress. The pilots were alive. The ship had jumped, not smoothly, not safely, but successfully. The control room erupted. Humanity had achieved something the aliens never dared to try. Unrestricted spatial rupture. The observers watched in horror. That maneuver was forbidden. It violated multiple galactic treaties. It destabilized local space. It risked chain reactions that could damage entire systems. The aliens had removed that function deliberately. Humans restored it. Worse, they optimized it. The observers sent another report, this one urgent. Species demonstrate reckless adaptation. High casualty tolerance. Recommend escalation of sterilization timetable. The response came slower this time. Command was divided. Some feared the implications. Others argued humanity would destroy itself eventually. No species embraced instability for long. They chose to wait. Humanity did not. Back on Earth, leadership made a quiet decision. They would not wait for the galaxy to act. They would not hide. They would not beg. They would prepare a message. Not a broadcast. A demonstration. The failure was armed fully for the first time. Not with all systems active. That would be suicidal, but enough to test its purpose. The target was carefully chosen. An uninhabited region of space where an ancient alien weapons platform drifted, abandoned centuries ago. It was heavily armored, designed to survive sustained fleet bombardment. Perfect for testing. The ship jumped in without warning. The alien observers tracked it instantly. This was no longer an observation. This was escalation. The failure aligned itself with the platform. Power surged. The ship screamed under the strain. Warnings filled every display. The pilot did not pull back. The weapon fired. There was no beam, no projectile, no explosion. Space itself collapsed inward. The platform folded, crushed by forces it was never designed to resist. Its armor imploded. Its core vanished. In less than a second, something that once symbolized alien dominance was gone. The shockwave rippled outward, distorting sensors across the system. The failure shut down immediately after, systems overheating, structure barely holding together. But it had done what it was built to do. And something completely. The observers broke silence. For the first time, they transmitted a message toward Earth. It was not hostile. It was not friendly. I was cautious. You are using technology beyond your understanding. This path leads to annihilation. Humanity responded within minutes. Not with words, but with data. They transmitted a full recording of the test. Every system readout. Every instability. Every near failure. And one simple statement, translated into an alien language with perfect clarity. We understand the cost. Do you? The alien observers went silent. Far away, in council chambers across the galaxy, leaders stared at the data in disbelief. The discarded ship had not just been restored. It had been surpassed, and now it was clear. Humanity did not fear unstable weapons. They feared being helpless more. The part ends as multiple alien fleets quietly change course toward Earth. The fleets did not arrive all at once. That would have been too honest. Instead, they came in fragments, single ships at first, then groups, then entire formations sliding out of folded space at the far edges of the solar system. Each arrival was deliberate, controlled, measured. The galaxy was making a point. Human sensors lit up with alerts. Astronomers confirmed what military analysts already knew. These were not explorers. They were enforcement fleets. Old powers. Disciplined powers. They were here to end a mistake. Inside Earth's command centers, silence replaced panic. Humanity had already crossed the line that mattered. There was no retreat left to consider. The question was not whether the aliens would attack. It was how long they would pretend they wouldn't. The failure remained in orbit, dark and quiet, repairs still incomplete. Scars ran across its hull like healed wounds. Systems hummed under strain even at rest. It was not ready for war. Neither side cared. The first alien transmission arrived without threat displays or raised weapons. A single vessel broke formation and moved closer, broadcasting on all known frequencies. The message was translated instantly. Species designation: human. You have activated a prohibited construct. You have demonstrated unstable weaponization. This violates interstellar containment protocols. The tone was calm, almost polite. We are authorized to neutralize the asset and sterilize the contamination site. Compliance will prevent unnecessary loss. Around Earth, millions of humans watched the sky, unaware of how close extinction had come. Only a few thousand people truly understood what was happening, and none of them believed compliance would save anyone. Humanity responded with a single ship. Not the failure. A small, unarmed communication vessel rose from orbit and approached the alien envoy. It carried no weapons, no defenses, just representatives and translators. The galaxy watched closely. The aliens did not expect this. They expected fear, delays, negotiation for survival. What they received instead was composure. The human envoy did not threaten, did not plead, did not apologize. They spoke plainly. You discarded a weapon on our world, the envoy said. You labeled us insignificant. You planned to erase us quietly. The alien commander replied without hesitation. That assessment was accurate at the time. The human envoy nodded once. Then allow us to update your data. The failure powered up. Not fully, not aggressively, just enough. Across the solar system, sensors screamed. Energy readings spiked into ranges previously thought impossible for a single vessel. Gravity ripples rolled outward. Space bent slightly, as if reality itself was leaning away. The alien fleets reacted instantly. Weapons charged. Shields flared. Formation tightened. The human envoy did not flinch. We did not steal your technology, the envoy continued. You abandoned it. We did not improve it by accident. We improved it because we are used to surviving broken systems. The alien commander hesitated. That hesitation mattered. We will not deactivate it, the human envoy finished. And we will not surrender it. If you wish to destroy it, you will have to come closer. Silence followed. The galaxy expected immediate retaliation. It did not come. The alien fleets held positions. Command channels flooded with debate. This was not the outcome doctrine predicted. Humanity was supposed to fracture under pressure. Instead, they stood still. The alien civilization had a problem. Destroying Earth outright was possible, but risky. The failure's instability meant any large-scale attack could trigger uncontrolled reactions. Entire sections of space could collapse. Systems could be lost. Worse, the weapon had already been demonstrated. If it fired again, near fleets, losses would be catastrophic. The alien commander issued a revised message. You are endangering yourselves. That construct will destroy you eventually. Stand down, and this ends. Humanity answered with something unexpected. They shared footage, not weapons, of people. Engineers burned by energy feedback. Technicians killed during failed tests. Pilots shaken but alive after impossible maneuvers. Graves in underground facilities. Names etched into walls no alien would ever see. A simple explanation followed. We know it will destroy us if we misuse it, the envoy said. That is why we control it ourselves. You fear it because it costs lives. We accept that cost. The alien commander said nothing. because that logic did not exist in their civilization. They had built empires on minimizing loss, on preserving stability, on avoiding extremes. Humanity had built itself on enduring them. The fleets began repositioning, not retreating, but preparing. The first battle was coming, whether anyone wanted it or not. Inside the failure, crews finished emergency repairs. Systems were unstable. Weapon output was limited. The ship could fight, but only once. Everyone aboard knew it. The pilot studied the tactical display, watching alien fleets fan out like predators. Perfect formations, redundant defenses, overwhelming firepower. Against one broken ship, command channels crackled with updates. More alien fleets were inbound. This was no longer a warning. It was an execution being carefully staged. Earth's leaders made the final decision. The failure would not wait. It would not be cornered. It would strike first, not to win the war, but to break the illusion that this would be easy. The ship powered up fully for the first time in combat configuration. The hull groaned. Systems screamed. Internal alarms were ignored. The crew locked themselves in, knowing some of them would not return. The failure jumped, not away, into the heart of the approaching alien formation. The galaxy watched in disbelief as the human ship tore through folded space and appeared inside a defensive ring that should have been impenetrable. Alien targeting systems scrambled. Formation coherence shattered. The failure did not fire immediately. It lets the aliens see it. Scarred, broken, glowing with barely contained violence. Then it unleashed its first combat maneuver. Not a weapon, a destabilization. Space twisted violently around the alien ships. Shields failed. Navigation collapsed. Vessels collided as gravity inverted unpredictably. Panic spread through disciplined fleets. The failure fired once. One shot. It did not aim at the largest ship. It aimed at the center of coordination. The command vessel vanished. Not exploded. Gone. In an instant, the fleet lost cohesion. Human sensors showed dozens of alien ships retreating blindly, jumping without coordination, risking catastrophic misjumps. The failure did not pursue. It could not. The ship's systems began failing simultaneously. Hull breaches spread. Power fluctuations threatened meltdown. The crew fought to keep it together. They succeeded, barely. The failure limped back toward Earth, scarred but alive. Behind it, the alien fleets pulled back. For the first time in recorded galactic history, a civilization had advanced, confident of victory, and hesitated after the first exchange. Across the galaxy, emergency councils convened. The problem was no longer Earth. The problem was precedent. Humanity has proven something terrifying. They would not be intimidated by overwhelming force. They would not surrender dangerous tools. And they would strike before being erased. As the failure docked for emergency repairs, alarms still blaring, one truth settled over every alien mind watching the data. This was not a species to be corrected. This was a species to be feared. And the war had only just begun. The galaxy did not retreat. It recalculated. After the first clash, alien fleets withdrew just far enough to reorganize. New formations replaced the old. Command structures shifted. Fire control doctrines changed. Humanity's single strike had not broken their will. It had taught them. The next wave arrived with purpose. Thousands of ships emerged from folded space at once, surrounding the solar system in a slow, tightening net. These were not enforcers or scouts. These were extermination fleets, designed to end threats completely, regardless of cost. Earth felt the weight of it. Satellites vanished without warning. Long-range sensors went dark. Communications suffered strange delays as space itself became unstable. Humanity realized something terrifying. The aliens were adapting to the failure's instability. They were learning how to fight chaos. Inside Earth's underground command centers, the truth was laid bare. Failure could not win a prolonged war. Its systems were degrading faster than engineers could repair them. Every jump weakened its structure. Every weapon discharge carved deeper fractures through the hull. It was a weapon built for decisive moments, not survival. The decision came quietly. The failure would go out again, not to defend Earth, to buy it time. The crew was given the choice to stand down. No one did. They understood what the ship was now, not just a weapon, but a message written in sacrifice. When the failure launched, there were no cheers, only silent acknowledgments. Family messages recorded and stored. Final data backups transmitted. The ship jumped into the advancing alien fleets without finesse. This time, the aliens were ready. Weapons fire filled space instantly. Energy lances tore past the hull. Shields flared and collapsed repeatedly. The failure responded with raw aggression, unleashing destabilization fields that shattered formations and turned precision attacks into chaos. Alien ships died by the dozens. Human systems died with them. Inside the failure, decks burned. Gravity failed. Hull breaches sucked people into space before emergency fields snapped back into place. Engineers worked while bleeding. Pilots flew with cracked consoles and failing sensors. The ship screamed. Still, it pushed forward. The failure targeted supply carriers, command nodes, and coordination vessels. It did not try to destroy the fleets. It tried to blind them. The aliens countered by sacrificing ships deliberately, forcing the failure to fire again and again, knowing each discharge damaged it further. They understood the weapon now. They were willing to trade lives to exhaust it. Human command watched in helpless silence as the failure's status deteriorated. Hull integrity dropped below safe limits. Core containment fluctuated wildly. If the core failed, the explosion would tear open space itself, possibly taking Earth with it. The pilot asked for orders. The response came after a long pause. Hold them as long as you can. The failure did not retreat. Instead, it did something no alien system predicted. It dove deeper. The ship jumped repeatedly in short, violent bursts, tearing through space unpredictably. Each jump risked catastrophic failure. Each jump confused targeting systems and broke formation cohesion. The galaxy had never seen a ship fight like this. It was not maneuvering. It was enduring. Alien commanders realized the truth too late. The failure was not trying to survive. It was forcing them to commit, to chase, to close distance, to cluster. And then it happened. The failure's core breached containment. Alarms screamed across every channel. Power surged uncontrollably. Reality warped around the ship, pulling nearby alien vessels toward it like debris into a storm. The crew knew what it meant. They did not panic. The pilot issued the final maneuver. The failure locked onto the densest cluster of alien ships and engaged its core without suppression. The explosion was not fire. It was absent. Space collapsed inward, consuming ships, energy, and light itself. Dozens of alien vessels vanished instantly. Shockwaves tore through surrounding fleets, ripping them apart and scattering survivors across the system. The blast ended just short of total collapse. The failure was gone. So was most of the alien advance. Silence followed. On Earth, sensors struggled to interpret what had happened. A vast region of space had been scarred, unstable, dangerous, permanently altered. The failure had not simply exploded. It had rewritten space around it. Humanity mourned quietly. Names were released. Faces shown. Stories told. The crew of the failure became symbols, not of victory, but of resolve. The galaxy reeled. The alien fleets pulled back in disarray. Command networks flooded with panic and blame. Entire doctrines collapsed overnight. This was not a battle they could win without an unacceptable loss. They had underestimated something fundamental. Humans did not use weapons to preserve themselves. They used them to protect others. Earth transmitted a message, not triumphant, not threatening. We did not fire first, it said. We did not choose this war. But we will not abandon dangerous tools while others decide our fate. The message ended with a final statement. The ship you discarded was a failure to you. To us, it was a warning. Next time, we will build our own. Across the galaxy, councils debated in fear and disbelief. Humanity had lost its greatest weapon, but gained something far more dangerous. Reputation. The aliens now understood the truth. Earth would not be controlled through fear. And if pushed again, humanity would not rely on discarded weapons. They would create new ones. Built without restraint. Built without permission. Built with the memory of the failure burning in their history. As the scarred region of space slowly stabilized, one alien historian recorded a single line for the archives. The moment humanity lost their weapon was the moment the galaxy realized it had lost control. The war did not end with celebration. It ended with silence. Across Earth, the sky looked the same, but nothing felt unchanged. Sensors still struggled to read the scar left behind by the failure's final act. Space there remained twisted, unstable, dangerous to approach. A wound the galaxy could not easily heal. Humanity stared into that wound and remembered the names of those who made it. The alien fleets did not return. They did not advance. They did not threaten. They withdrew slowly, carefully, as if afraid to move too fast. For the first time in their long history, they did not know how to respond. Victory had been expected. Control had been assumed. Instead, they had encountered something unfamiliar. A species that accepted loss without surrender. On Earth, governments released what they could. Not everything. Some truths were still too heavy, but enough. People learned about the ship, about the insult, about the choice to fight back, about the crew that never came home. There were no riots, no panic, only grief and pride. Humanity did not see itself as victorious. It saw itself as warned. Deep beneath Earth's surface, new facilities activated quietly, not in celebration, in preparation. Engineers who had survived the failures project returned to work without speeches or banners. They did not mourn by stopping. They mourned by continuing. Alien diplomats arrived weeks later. Not in fleets. In single ships. Unarmed. Careful. They requested talks. Not negotiations. Not surrender. Talks. The shift alone shook the galaxy. Human representatives met them in orbit, not on Earth. Neutral ground. No weapons displayed. No hidden threats. Just restraint on both sides. The alien delegates spoke first. They did not apologize. They did not threaten. They acknowledged. You have demonstrated behavior we did not anticipate, the lead delegate said. You are no longer classified as insignificant. Humanity did not respond immediately. That silence carried more weight than anger. The delegate continued. Our civilizations value stability. We believed uncontrolled systems would always fail. You have shown us a different calculation. Human representatives listened, then replied simply. You mistook fear for wisdom. The talks stretched for days. Alien diplomats struggled to understand human logic. Why accept such loss? Why build weapons that risked everything? Why continue after losing the failure? The answer unsettled them. Because humans did not believe safety was guaranteed by restraint. They believed survival was earned by readiness. The aliens revealed something in return. The failure was not the only discarded design. Across the galaxy, countless ideas had been abandoned over millennia. Unstable drives, excessive weapons, dangerous theories. The alien civilizations had buried them all in forgotten systems, confident no one would ever use them. Humanity heard that and asked a single question. How many? The alien delegate hesitated before answering. Thousands. That was the moment fear shifted sides. Human leaders did not threaten to recover them. They did not demand access. They did not smile. They simply said, we will. The alien delegates realized the mistake immediately. Humanity did not need permission. They needed awareness. And now they had it. Back on Earth, construction began, not of a ship, but of a framework. Something different from failure. Something not stolen, not discarded, not inherited. Something designed by humans from the ground up. The lessons of the failure were etched into every calculation. Instability was not removed. It was managed. Sacrifice was not avoided. It was planned. Where the failure had been a storm barely held together, this new design was something else entirely. Controlled chaos. The galaxy sensed it before it was announced. Deep space observatories picked up new signatures, small at first, then growing. Human research vessels began appearing near long-abandoned systems. Places no one had visited in centuries. The aliens watched helplessly. Humanity was not scavenging weapons. It was studying mistakes and learning from all of them. The diplomatic talks ended without treaties. Only understanding. The aliens agreed not to approach Earth militarily. Humanity agreed not to expand aggressively, yet. Both sides knew how fragile that balance was. As the delegates departed, one alien historian recorded a private note. We feared unstable weapons because they threaten order. Humans fear helplessness because it threatens survival. Weeks later, the first human vessel of the new program powered up. It did not resemble failure. It was smaller, cleaner, quieter, more dangerous. Engineers watched silently as it activated systems that would have terrified alien designers. Not because they were unstable, but because they worked. The test was successful. No explosion, no sacrifice, just power. Humanity has learned. The galaxy had not. As news of the test spread quietly through alien networks, panic followed. Councils argued. Militaries stalled. Philosophers questioned everything they believed about progress and restraint. They had assumed discarded ideas were dead. They had assumed fear was universal. They were wrong. Humanity has turned failure into experience. An experience in doctrine. The final human message to the galaxy was not broadcast widely. It was sent only to those who mattered. We did not seek your attention, it said. You gave it to us when you tried to erase us. We do not want your worlds. We want our future. It ended with a single line. Do not throw dangerous things into the dark and assume they stay there. Far from Earth, in the scarred region of space where the failure had died, sensors detected something unexpected. Residual patterns. Not debris. Echoes. As if space itself remembered what had happened. And as long as that memory remained, the galaxy would never forget the day humanity proved that what others discard, humans refine. Power does not announce itself. It shifts gravity. The galaxy felt that shift long before any official declaration was made. Trade routes subtly changed. Patrol patterns adjusted. Long-standing alliances hesitated before acting. Entire civilizations paused, uncertain which direction the future now pointed. And all of it traced back to one truth. Humanity had survived first contact without surrender. Worse, they had learned from it. Across distant systems, smaller species began sending quiet probes toward human space. Not spies, not scouts, observers. They watched how Earth rebuilt, how it spoke, how it moved fleets not aggressively, but deliberately. They noticed something unsettling. Humanity did not celebrate. There were no victory monuments orbiting Earth, no grand fleet parades, no propaganda declaring dominance. Instead, the planet grew quieter, more focused. That scared the galaxy more than triumph ever could. Alien powers convened emergency councils. Old doctrines were dragged out and questioned. For thousands of years, stability had been preserved by avoiding extremes. Dangerous ideas were buried. Risk was minimized. Progress was controlled. Humanity violated every assumption. They treated danger as something to understand, not avoid. Some alien leaders argued for preemptive strikes. End humanity now, before it grew stronger. Others warned against it. The failure's legacy still haunts their simulations. Even without that ship, humans had proven a willingness to sacrifice everything to deny control. That made them unpredictable, unmanageable, and therefore untouchable for now. Smaller civilizations saw something else. Hope. They had lived under quiet pressure from dominant galactic powers for centuries. Not open oppression, but containment. Limits on technology. Limits on expansion. Limits justified by stability. Humanity had shattered that narrative. They had faced extinction and refused to kneel. Messages began arriving at Earth's diplomatic channels. Cautious, carefully worded. Requests for dialogue, for trade, for protection. Humanity reads them all and answered very few. Not out of arrogance, out of awareness. Every alliance changed the balance further. Every agreement created expectations. Humanity understood the danger of becoming what it had just escaped. Behind closed doors, human leadership debated what role they now played. Defender? Disruptor? Threat? None of those fit cleanly. They were something new. The construction programs continued quietly. Not a fleet, yet. Not a weapon, yet. Infrastructure. Foundations. Technologies built with lessons learned from alien mistakes and human experience combined. Alien observers detected it all. What unsettled them most was not the technology itself. It was restraint. Humanity had the ability to expand rapidly, to exploit abandoned systems, to recover dangerous designs across the galaxy. But they moved slowly, choosing precision over speed. That meant they were thinking long-term. The galaxy began to lean toward Earth, not physically, but politically. Decisions were delayed until human reactions were considered. Conflicts froze, waiting to see if humans would intervene. They didn't. Not at first. Then came the incident at the border of neutral space. A minor species, small, resource-poor, long ignored, was targeted by an old empire seeking expansion. It was a familiar pattern, one the galaxy had seen countless times. This time, the smaller species sent a message to Earth. Not begging, informing. We will resist, the message said. We wanted you to know. Human leadership debated for hours. Intervening would set a precedent. Standing aside would preserve neutrality, but confirm fear. They chose a third path. A single human ship arrived at the edge of the conflict zone. Not armed visibly, not threatening. It did not block fleets or issue ultimatums. It transmitted one message. We are observing. Nothing else. The old empire hesitated. Simulations ran. Outcomes were calculated. Human response probabilities were unknown. The cost of escalation became impossible to measure. The invasion was postponed. No battle occurred. No shots fired. The galaxy noticed. From that moment on, humanity did not need to act. Their attention was enough. That realization spread fear among the powerful and relief among the small. Inside Earth's command structures, unease grew. This was not the dominance they had planned. This was gravity they had earned without intending to. Some leaders argued they were becoming the very force they once feared. Others countered that refusing responsibility would be worse. Engineers continued their work, but morale shifted. They were no longer just protecting Earth. They were shaping the future. The most dangerous change happened quietly. Human children grew up knowing they were not insignificant. They learned that the galaxy was not safe, but it was not untouchable either. That knowledge reshaped culture, ambition, and belief. The aliens felt it. Cultural analysts predicted a surge in human innovation unlike anything recorded. A species that no longer doubted its relevance was a force that could not be ignored. An alien historian wrote, "Power restrained by fear stagnates. Power restrained by memory adapts." Humanity remembered everything. The failure, the insult, the cost. They did not want another one. In the scarred region of space where the failure died, human research vessels returned. Carefully, respectfully, they studied the echoes left behind, not to weaponize them, but to understand what sacrifice had done to reality itself. What they found disturbed them. Space had not healed. It had adapted. The region showed signs of permanent alteration, new physical behaviors, new reactions to energy and mass. The failure had not just destroyed ships. It had changed the rules locally. Human physicists realized something profound. Reality itself responded to extreme intent. That knowledge was locked away, not shared. Yet, as the galaxy adjusted to humanity's presence, one truth became impossible to ignore. Humanity has become the reference point. Every power measured itself against Earth. Every plan accounted for human response. Every discarded idea was now reconsidered, not because it was safe, but because humans might find it first. The final scene unfolded quietly. A human engineer stood before a holographic projection of a new vessel concept. Not aggressive, not defensive, balanced between potential and restraint. A colleague asked a simple question. "Are we sure we should build this?" The engineer paused, then answered honestly. "No, but we're sure someone else would, and we don't throw dangerous things away anymore." The galaxy leaned a little closer to Earth that day, not in fear alone, but in recognition. Humanity was no longer the unknown variable. They were the constant everyone had to plan around, and the universe was still adjusting. History did not record the end of the conflict as a war. There were no final battles, no surrender documents, no victory parades. Instead, there was a shift, slow, irreversible, and impossible to undo. The galaxy changed its behavior. That was how humanity knew it was over. Trade routes rerouted to avoid human space without explanation. Long-range sensors recalibrated their threat models, placing Earth not as an anomaly, but as a baseline. Strategic simulations no longer asked if humans would act, but how quickly. The discarded ship, the failure, was no longer mentioned in official alien records. Not because it was forgotten, because it was understood. Alien historians argued quietly about how it had happened. How a civilization with no interstellar presence had reshaped galactic balance using something meant to be erased. Some blamed arrogance. Others blamed outdated doctrine. A few, more honest than the rest, wrote the truth. The mistake was assuming fear meant weakness. Humanity did not fear dangerous tools. They feared being powerless. On Earth, life continued. Cities grew. Conflicts rose and fell. People laughed, worked, and argued about ordinary things. To most humans, the galaxy remained distant and abstract. Only a small number understood how close everything had come to ending, and how narrow the line still was. Those people carried the weight quietly. The new human vessels were never named publicly. No grand titles. No symbols meant to intimidate. They existed as capability, not spectacle. That choice confused the galaxy. Power, to most civilizations, demanded display. Flags, fleets, demonstrations. Humanity chose the opposite. They built, tested, refined, and waited. Alien civilizations adjusted slowly. Some attempted to copy human approaches to risk with disastrous results. They lacked the cultural foundation. They wanted power without the acceptance of loss. They failed. Others doubled down on old restraint, clinging to stability. They survived, but diminished. A few chose something braver. They learned. They opened forgotten archives, revisited abandoned designs, not to use them blindly, but to understand why they had been feared in the first place. Humanity's existence forced the galaxy to confront an uncomfortable question. Has progress been stalled by caution? Humanity never answered that question for them. They simply existed as proof. Years later, the scar left by the failure remained visible, a region of space where physics behaved differently, permanently altered by sacrifice. No one claimed it. No one approached it lightly. It became a reminder. Alien academies taught it as a warning about instability. Human academies taught it as a lesson in responsibility. Two interpretations of the same event. Both are correct. A final diplomatic summit was held decades later, not to negotiate peace. Peace had settled on its own, but to define boundaries. Humanity attended without intimidation, without dominance. They spoke last. We were underestimated, the human representative said. Not because we were weak, but because you measured intelligence by comfort. No accusations followed. No demands. Just the truth. We do not seek to rule. We do not seek to destabilize. But we will never again accept being treated as disposable. The galaxy accepted that, not because it agreed, because it is remembered. In the archives of the civilization that had discarded the ship, a final classified document was unsealed. Written long ago, forgotten until now. It was an internal justification for dumping the prototype. This design prioritizes decisive outcomes over survivability. Such thinking invites extinction. An alien scholar added a single annotation beneath it. Correction, it invites transformation. Humanity never built another failure. They did not need to. They had learned what it represented. Those dangerous ideas do not disappear when ignored. That stability maintained through fear eventually breaks. And that survival belongs to those willing to face consequences directly. The galaxy continued, but differently now. Cautious of arrogance. Aware of overlooked worlds. More careful about what it threw away. Because somewhere, always, there might be another species like humanity. Watching, waiting, ready to pick up what others discard and turn it into something unforgettable. In the end, humanity did not become the galaxy's greatest weapon. They became its reminder that intelligence is not measured by how safely one lives, but by how one chooses to act when survival demands risk.